Hey, what's up, everybody? This is DJ Thielen, CEO of Fortune Foreclosures and founder of Flipping On Demand, and your host of DJ's Dugout, where each week I bring you a new live guest that inspires you to be better in your life and in your business. And today, it's really awesome. I want a great guy, a friend of mine, Nate Pummel. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? How's it going? Thanks
Doing
for having
good,
me.
man.
Yeah.
Doing great. I'm going to turn my little fan on here, get me a little airflow. But good, man. Good. How's everything with you?
It's going really good. Things are picking up in all aspects, so everything's been good.
Good, man. Good. So, we're gonna share with everyone on here today on the podcast and on everything. Amy says holla, so she's already chiming in.
Yeah.
This gal. So anyways, we're going to share with people today some cool stuff. I think that, what you've been able to do as far as working a full-time job and having your hands full with a few little ones, to put it mildly,
Yeah.
and, having a full-time job, having 4 kids, young kids, and still being able to crack the code and really just not really crack the code, but just have that desire, have that positive mental attitude to go out and say, hey, you know what? I want more for my life. I want more for my family. I want more for my kids. And no matter what it's going to take, I'm going to figure out a way to start doing this, to start doing some home flips. Obviously you've built your own software, which we're going to get into later, which is really cool. And so share with everyone on here, I guess, just a little bit about, where you came from and kind of a quick bio on Nate.
Yeah. So I grew up here in Denver. I grew up middle class, and I'm actually, hang on, my phone's ringing, so that doesn't interrupt us.
It's probably Amy.
Yeah. Hi, Amy. I see you. Yeah. And so people in my family actually didn't really go to college. And so the life path for us was, college was a big deal. And, I went to college, tried to get as best job as I could, and tried to just start creating this life that everyone, that you see on TV and that you hear about, especially growing up in the middle class world, is, college was like this great thing and the next step, which it really is, but understanding like that's the only path that I saw myself taking. So got married pretty young and still married, very happily married today. We have 4 little kids, as young as 0 and as old as 7. So that has been a huge life changer, as you can imagine. And ultimately, just going through kind of the everyday rat race, as they say, in the grind, as my kids started getting older and kind of chatting, being able to express their feelings with my schedule and how much time I spend with them and stuff like that, it started to hit me that, if I want to live the life that I want to live, which is with them and with my wife, that I'm going to have to start thinking of other ways to do this going forward. So that's really kind of what brought me, I guess, into my frame of mind that I'm in today, and really just, I guess that's kind of the lens of life that I look at now, is trying to, provide for them, but also, provide my time to them, which I think is the most important.
Yeah, man, because, all of us, and that's, man, yeah, having 4 kids. So you have 4 kids. Oldest is 0, oldest is 7, youngest is 0. And you're, and what do you do for work full time, to share with everyone? I mean, I know, but.
Yeah. So I still work the 9 to 5. I'm a finance manager for a large engineering firm. And then I also, along this journey of trying to figure out how to kind of earn enough income to where I don't have to rely on the 9 to 5, I ended up starting a software company. And so I kind of do that. And then also I'm starting to really build up my flip business. So
yeah. So the cool thing, man, is that, what you've been able to do is what, and I'll get into, a few questions that maybe can shed some light. So those of you that are listening to the podcast, or watching this show, this is going to be really important because there's so many people out there. So many of you, guys and gals, and Nate, you went through this, so I'll have you share how you've done it, but that want to start their own business, but fear is getting in the way, or you want to start your own side hustle on real estate, but you don't know where to start. There's all these shiny objects. There's all these mentors. There's all this, every time you look on Facebook, there's a new ad, there's a new, software, there's a new CRM. There's something new that's always, and it's so much, it can be so much information that people can get paralyzed and go, God, I don't even know where to start. So like with you, so you're working full time, you have 4 kids, a wife, maybe a cat, a goldfish, a dog, a hamster.
Yeah, I've got 4 girls and 2 girl dogs. So I'm a lone wolf.
Yeah. And so how did you, so you decided, hey, you shared with me earlier, like, hey, I was working a job. They said, hey, I gotta give that story about the big promotion that you were offered. Kind of what led you to think, man, I really need to create my own side hustle here.
Yeah. So I've actually been super interested in real estate investing for a long time, probably for like the last, I want to say maybe 10, 12 years. And it was always like, oh yeah, this would be really cool. But when you're working a full-time job, and it's like, how can I do both of these? It's always nice to hear that dream. But then the real catalyst, I was working a job, and it was a fairly new job, and I was up for a promotion in 11 months, which was pretty quick for the company I was working for. And so promotion day was coming, and I was all excited, and they slid me a piece of paper, and they're like, hey, we just want you to know, here's your increase for the promotion. And it turned out to be 0.4%. And I was like, oh, boom, right. It's just a gut shot. And so right then I was like, this is crazy, right? I mean, I was putting in all kinds of extra time, right? I'm busting my butt to, just really make a huge impact. And then for that impact, it was recognized, it was recognized, but, obviously the monetary benefit of being recognized would have been really nice as well. So I just started to kind of reflect, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to put in this much extra time for, 0.4%, then why don't I take that time and put that into something else? Because I bet I can make much more than this 0.4% that I just got. And that was really the big kicker. And that's really kind of what led to my my real estate education. So I immediately started jumping into, books and podcasts and stuff right after that.
So you said, were you like, hey man, I think you got to move this decimal point over a little bit. Is this, hey, you messing with me?
Yeah. I was like looking, are there cameras in here? Yeah.
Yeah, am I being punked? Where's Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, come on out, Ashton.
Yeah, come on out.
Yeah.
And so, but and that's, so many people are going through this. And you said something that's really cool, is that, hey, if I'm going to put in more time, because that's kind of the what happens, I haven't worked in the corporate world, but from what I've seen and everything, that's really what happens. Like, hey, we're going to make you work more time and more hours for the same amount of pay, and we're going to stack more and more and more on you. And in at the end of the day, it's like you said, which is a really cool way to look at it. It's like, man, if I'm going to put, I'd rather put in 40 hours, and then instead of working 60 or 70, and let me just chip my 40 hours in. Maybe someone's working a full-time job, watch this, and they need to keep their benefits or something. Like, that's cool, but maybe keep those 40 hours or 45 or whatever, but those 40 hours where you can go home and put in those additional 10, 20 hours a week on your own hustle and your own business, right? Like.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the time issue is always what comes up, I think, the most for people. And you don't realize like how much time you're actually wasting. when you don't have kids, you're busy, and then you have kids and you're still busy, and then you have tons of kids like me, and then somehow you're still really busy, and yet everyone's always too busy to do something. So that's where you can find time to kind of push your way in and do what's.
Hey man, if you wait for the right time for having kids, right? It's never perfect. If you wait for the right time to jump into real estate, or well, I tried this course, or I thought about doing this, or I thought about flipping homes, and I bought these books, but they didn't work, and this and that. And really, it comes down to, I think, like, just because you tried something and you failed, one, it doesn't mean that didn't work. Maybe it was you. And I mean, to be honest. And secondly, maybe it was like some crappy, shitty training that only didn't work in your market or whatever. I mean, that happens a lot, but, never let that stop you. I think with you, Nate, like when you kind of shared your story with me, to me, it's like, what is your why stronger than your, why you want to have your own side hustle, why you want to build your own business? Is that stronger than just staying at that corporate job, getting that check and being comfortable? And for some people, if that's your comfort zone and you're super happy and that's what you want, I think I don't think that you should be an entrepreneur. Not everyone is cut out to be, but for a lot of people, if you're going to a 9-to-5 and you're going to your job and you hate what you do, or it's not fulfilling, or, you don't have time with your kids, or it's causing additional stress, or all the things it can, and you've been wanting to do it, like, what could you tell those people, Nate, that are saying that? Like, man, like, because there's never a right time to start your business. You just got to kind of jump and go for it, right? I mean, what did you do?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what, I always look back and I'm thinking, man, why didn't I do this when I didn't have kids, right? I decided to take on, building a software company and getting into real estate when I had my third kid. I mean, literally when I had my third kid, I was, like a week after she was born, I was up in the middle of the night reading books that I had downloaded on my iPad. But yeah, you're exactly right. I think whenever your why becomes, greater than that fear, and you realize, the kid stuff has been the toughest because, they voiced their opinion, and that was like, just, brought me to my knees of like, hey, why are you gone so much? And, oh, well, I'm working. And my daughter actually said, well, if you need money, I can give you all the money out of my piggy bank if you can stay home. And I was like, oh, come on, right? I'm already emotional. And then, with each girl that I have, I just get more and more emotional. So
it's rubbing off on you.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm sorry. So then I even told her, don't worry, we're going to take care of this. And really, it was just like, all right, I need to find the time. And so, when my wife was pregnant, she was going to bed early, so I was staying up late. And then, when she was back on her normal schedule, I was still staying up late or trying to get up early. And so I did that for a long time until I got established.
So you just fit in. So when you first started, so you're working a full-time job, you said, hey, you know what? And I think this is something too that people can look at. Those of you listening to this, if you want a side hustle in real estate and you want to start your own thing, one, there's never a perfect time. You just have to jump and take the leap and start moving forward. But also what you have to look at is the one thing that you're guaranteed if you don't do something different is what you've been getting. And I think so many people, to really put that into perspective, I had someone share that with me. He said, gosh, EJ, I see so many people, and I tell them, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're absolutely 100% guaranteed that you're going to keep getting what you're getting. So if you want something to change, you absolutely, unequivocally, without a doubt, you have to do something different. If that, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about a lot. What are you doing? Great. You're working full time. What are you doing from 7 at night to 2 in the morning? And so you took that time at night with the kids, with the babies. Sorry, I should have closed my my windows, my email notifications. But you took that time to actually say, hey, you know what? I'm going to read. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to start learning this stuff. I'm going to figure out how I can start building this. Is that about right? Or is that like the route it went for you?
Yeah. And I'm very risk averse too. And I'm typically, and I'm a finance guy, right? So I'm constantly analyzing. And what I found was every time I would read a book, a huge hurdle would come up. So the first book I read said, if you can make $100 in cash flow, it's a good deal.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at my market here in Denver, and the average home price is like 350,000. So I'm like, okay, I need to save up, $60,000, $70,000. And I'm like, okay, so it'll take me 17 years to save up that much money at my current income level. And then I can buy a place and make $100 a month. And I'm going, this is crazy. I can't do this. This is never going to work. And then so I just kept listening to podcasts and stuff, and I started to just find kind of the ideas that molded around my situation. So I'm in an expensive market, but I own my home, so I was able to find ways to leverage our current house to get into less expensive markets. And so as I just keep kind of going through and finding creative ways to just keep moving forward. And that's been the biggest thing, is I've just really tried not to get discouraged, just keep moving forward. And like you said, taking the action has been the toughest part. The first property I bought was actually a turnkey deal, and I bought it, and just because I was like, hey, this is safe, the returns are safe, I'm just going to do it. I just got to do something to move forward. And actually just buying a turnkey deal taught me a ton. And that was like kind of another snowball. It's just like, okay, I'm into a property. I can call myself an investor,
Yeah. So you took the money out of your house. You had some equity, took some money out, invested in another market. I think it was Indiana, maybe, and invested in there. And now, so you took that money, you invested into a market that was safer. It was low cost. It was safe. You got high returns, and you're like, okay, this is at least I'm not going to invest 300 grand or something and have the market spin on me. And now I'm like really in trouble. So from being an analytical, finance guy, engineer guy, I mean, that's a smart play, right? And so many, I think a lot of people, if you're just getting going, obviously there's ways to get into it without money and stuff like that. But like, listen to what Nate's saying, right? Because if you if you're looking for an opportunity, you're going to find it. If you're looking for excuses and reasons why, oh, I tried things before and nothing worked, or I tried things, and you start telling yourself that, our mind is wired. We talked about this last weekend at my mastermind. Our minds are wired, like scientifically wired, to be right. So if we are telling ourselves something, oh, it's not, yeah, they did it, but I don't know, this is never going to work for me, or whatever. Your mind is going to find things. You're going to see everything through a certain set of lenses and perspective, and you're going to find reasons to prove your mind right. That, yes, okay, it's not going to, yeah, I knew it wasn't going to work, right? I knew I couldn't do this, or whatever. And it's a self-sabotage. And so I think, from a mindset side, Nate, like for you, and maybe it was reading, but what was it that, did you do anything to kind of keep that positive, that mindset? Were you reading books, putting good stuff in, or what was it that that gave? Because that's a big part, right? Is like to take that leap of faith. If people don't believe that they can do something, that's usually what stops them from just taking the leap and going for it anyway. What was it that got you to be okay mentally to just take the leap and just go for it?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. For me, because I am so risk averse, I mean, I analyze stuff like crazy, and I was like, well, do my numbers work and all this stuff? And obviously, there's so many intangibles that you just can't be prepared for. Where I just honestly got to a point where I had to take the leap of faith, and I was working with a provider in Indiana, and I did as much research on them as I could. And honestly, I got to a point where I'm like, okay, if worst case scenario, I sell this at a loss, I can rebound. And I finally just got myself to not kind of hold on to this idealistic kind of picture of money that says, well, if I lose money, then my life is over. And because it's just not the case. If I went belly up on this property, it's not like all of a sudden I'm bankrupt and my family's getting kicked out of our house. It was, okay, now maybe I lose 10K. Well, we can make up 10K, and it's worth the risk to me at this point, knowing I have to do something. I can't sit here. And I just got to that point of, if, like you said, if you continue to do nothing, then you're guaranteed the same result. And I thought, I've got to do something. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm doing it. Boom. And it took a long time, though. It took me about a year of, I think I read 12 books and listened to probably, 50 or 60 podcasts. And then I did it. So it's not like it wasn't exactly ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. But being an analytical, I mean, that says a lot, man, because, analytic is great in a lot of things as far as, it's really great in a lot of things, but from a real estate investing side, as you know, it's all about, to get the good deals, to get the hot deals, you have to make decisions quick, change your mind slow. Whereas from an analytic mindset, it's all about analyze, and a lot of times maybe overanalyze. So how did you finally, what got you to the point of finally just saying, hey, you know what, I got to stop overanalyzing stuff and finally go for it?
I think listening to all those podcasts, you hear all these people that were doing it just like me. They were kind of my, kind of in my demographic, and they were saying, hey, we did this, we took the leap of faith. And so it's that social proof of, there's people that are doing this. And, it made me comfortable to say, you know what, I really think I can do this. So I ended up, just going for it. So.
And now you're on track this year to flip 6 or 7 properties. Make like roughly what is the additional amount that you'll make on your side hustle, real estate, and then we'll get into your software, which is really awesome. I think I want to share it because it's going to be I think something that helps a lot of people, but that are wholesaling or flipping or any of that. But so what will you make, instead of making that 0.4%, right? You took your time and said, okay, I've only got so much time a day, so I'm going to keep my job, got a good job, but I'm going to use my additional time to do my home investing and flipping and stuff. So roughly, doesn't have to be exact. What will you make roughly, say, by the end of the year if everything ends up, the last few you have end up going well?
Yeah, so we're on target now to hit just above 6 figures. So that's that was a big goal for us this year, was to try to. Originally my goal was to do 10 buy and holds, and that actually, as when you start getting into it, it's I think how you manage kind of after the buy is probably the most important, which not a lot of people talk about. And so we've kind of fell into a good rhythm, a good system, and now we're finally starting to push into multiple properties fairly quickly. So we're hoping to kind of break that 6-figure mark.
So this year 6 figures, next year 7 figures.
Oh man, yes.
you gotta
plot that out. Yeah.
But but that's great, because Nate, so many people, they have that, maybe they're analytical too, or maybe they're working a corporate job and they're like, gosh, how can I just get some traction? How can I get going? So what podcasts, and it all starts, from the mental side, right? So what podcasts or books did you read that you could share that maybe people that are just getting going or want in your position and wanting to take that leap of faith to actually get going? What are some podcasts or books that you listened to or read?
Yeah, so most of my resources at the beginning were from Bigger Pockets.
Bigger Pockets, yep.
Yeah. So I did the Bigger Pockets. I listened to their podcast. All the books by Gary Keller have been really good. And then I think
who is the founder of Keller Williams?
Yeah. And so he has a really good book on real estate investing, a beginning book, and that actually probably goes into more detail than some of the others. But then there's
what was the name of that book?
It's called how to become like a real estate investor, I want to say. Me.
By Gary Keller.
Yeah, I get it. Somewhere in here, somewhere behind me. But yeah, that one was really good. And then Bigger Pockets came out with a book on creative real estate, creative financing, or how to buy property with no or low money down. That book was really good. And then there's just, obviously, like most real estate investors, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad was always a big influence. Because that really gives you good perspective on, corporate America and what are possibilities outside of corporate America. So, most people that I talk to now, I always recommend, all this stuff from Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh yeah. So touch on that. When you went through that Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you looked at the quadrant, right? The cash flow quadrant. So yes. You have the E for employee, you have the S for self-employed. That's both those strategies are trading time for money. You're paying excessive taxes, 30 to 60% when you're making money in those two categories. And then you move over to the B for business owner and the I for investor quadrants, and you're paying a lot less taxes. You're able to obviously, call your own shots, have more time and more freedom. Because for a lot of people, the money is great. But like to me, I see a lot of people that they just want their time. They want their time with their kids like you. They want their time back. And they're not going to get it, working at that corporate job, no matter. I talk to so many attorneys that are like, oh my gosh, DJ, they're struggling, they're making six figures and barely making it. They're stressed out beyond belief because they're dealing with negative stuff all day. So having that time back, having that being able to do something that you love, I think is huge. What was it about like the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the cash flow quadrant that kind of called an awakening for you? Like, man, what am I doing? Like, I need to start my own business here.
Yeah, well, so he kind of talked about the principles of like, okay, start your own business, make money and invest in real estate. But the one kind of big quote, I think it was from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said that employers will only pay you enough so you don't quit, and employees will only work hard enough not to get fired. And I thought, bam, like that just hit me like right in the face. And I was like, man, isn't that true? And I think that is the case for, a big chunk of corporate America. And then you've got that small percentage who are just grinding, right, trying to climb the ladder. And so I looked at that and I was like, he kind of broke it out of, your house is a huge liability, obviously, which it is. And so he starts talking about this passive income and that basically the trading time for money. And I was like, if you want to make more money, you got to put in more time. And so that was really it of how can I drastically decrease the time I put in and drastically increase the amount of money I can make. Because obviously those kind of inverting that kind of the status quo would help me here. And the biggest goal for me was I don't even have to replace my income. I just need to replace like 70% of my income because you get to keep so much more of it. So that was a big one, knowing that if I did that, then I could stay home and I could start kind of being more present with everyone here.
And your daughter wouldn't have to give you her money out of her piggy bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Yeah. And it's such a I was going to touch on something. Podcasts. Podcasting is huge. Obviously, that's what we're doing now. It's on Facebook, but we take the audio, put it on our DJ's Dugout podcast. But I think like when you and I grew up, I got a few years on you, but you and I grew up in the same era. And I think, you have this generational mindset, right? That passes from one parent to the next. It's like, go to school, get a good job, work, and retire at 60 or 65 or whatever, and live on a pension or live off your 401k. And that was all that they were taught. So it's really cool that, obviously this motto is being shattered. But it's really cool, man. And I want to congratulate you for breaking that, that generational kind of mindset, because, you know, if we don't, right, our kids are going to grow up like we did with that same way, and that same thinking that, wow, this is the way to go. This is the answer. But being around, you know, for them to see that you can control your own destiny, you can create your own business, you can do whatever you set your mind to. That's huge, man. I mean, I don't know if do the kids, like, do you talk to them about that?
Yeah. So my oldest, I get her involved. And so we talk about, you know, when like houses go up, I show her pictures, and she's like, so what I don't get it. This is our house. And I'm like, yeah, this is our house. We fix it up and we're going to sell it. And she's like, okay. And so she gets the whole, like we're earning additional revenue so I can spend more time with the family. And so she gets it at a very kind of high level. And she's like, wait, you have your own show? Because we watched a lot of HGTV. So we watch like flipping shows and design shows and stuff. She's like, wait, you have your own show? I'm like, no, not everyone who does this has their own show. Okay, we just do this for money.
Hey man, you do look like what's his name? Eklund, the realtor.
Oh, who's that?
The realtor. He's on the flipping New York or whatever. Something Eklund.
Yeah.
But look him up, man. You guys actually could be brothers. So so let's get into, so you have your business going, you're making 6 figures. What's the goal? And I want to get into your software, because those of you stay with us here till the end, you guys and gals, because I'm gonna share with you guys a software. I'm gonna have Nate share with you, I should say, a software that he's developed for those of you that are flipping and wholesaling, that is brand new. 99% of people don't even know about it, and it's actually gonna, like, I think, be a massive game changer for those of you that are wholesaling and flipping. But before we touch on that, so you're making 6 figures, say, on the side this year. What is your goal? Maybe you don't want to say too much, but what is your goal as far as, like, say, next year? Is it to make enough to like double that, triple that, or whatever, and then eventually be able to do it full time? Or
yeah, so I think eventually I want to do the software and the investing full time. The one thing that I'm trying to keep in mind is I want those 10 kind of loans from Fannie and Freddie first, and to get those I need to keep my W-2 job. And so really for next year, assuming I don't need to eat up the profit into my software, which we can talk about, but I'd like to continue to grow this, maybe do 16 properties next year, but bigger than that, my real goal is to try to get to 20 buy and hold doors by the end of next year.
Nice, man. And there's some other ways that you could do it. We can chat, later on after this, even, doing owner financing with multi-units, apartment buildings, things like that. I'll talk to you about, but basically, I mean, yeah. And so you do that, you build up your cash. So right now you're working full time, got 4 kids, have a lot going on, still making time to do the real estate stuff. Do you like the real estate stuff? I don't know if you want to say anything, but do you like the real estate side more than, is it excite you more and give you more juice than actually the financial side of like your actual 9 to 5?
Yeah. So the really cool thing about the real estate stuff is I get to do a bunch of stuff that I'm interested in. So I'm analytical. So I build, data models on a daily basis. So I get to do that for my business and for my real estate stuff. And then for, let's see. But what's cool about real estate is, one of my hobbies is building. So I get to build. I like to, do some design. And not only that, but some of the people aspect, which I don't get from the financial job, has been great. So I really, really love the finance stuff. But the real estate stuff is just, it checks kind of all the boxes. So, hey
man, you wouldn't meet people like us, right?
Yeah. How would I have met you?
Yeah. And you know what's funny is now, so we'll get into software, but now, you know, like you and I connected, are doing business together, become friends, and you know, you have software. Now I'm able to introduce and connect you with a lot of people that, you know, like Trevor at Investor Care, Mark Evans, you know, the DM who will I'll tag on this and share on his wall because I'm talking to him today, but some really high level people in the real estate world. And I think that's big too. You know, you guys, like, that's a big aspect is the networking side, right? Connecting with people throughout the country. And the crazy thing now is, you know, with technology, like, man, when I first started doing remote investing, Nate, in 2005, people thought I was like fell out of a tree. You know, they were like, dude, are you okay? Did you hit your head? Because like, who would invest and do deals and flip deals and do stuff across the country, 3,000 miles away, without being able to see a street view like you can now, without being like, it's so with technology now, it's so easy. It's so much easier to do deals and be comfortable, you know, seeing it with technology, investing across the country. And there's a saying, you know, invest where you and live where you want, invest where it makes sense. Yeah. And so, you know, and this is a model, when I first started doing it, it was kind of no, it wasn't real common. But now it's so common. Like, everybody, you know, I say everybody, but it's so normal. It's so natural. It's so much more, people are so much more willing to say, man, you can get me this kind of return, or if you can do this or whatever, man, and you got a team to do it, great, you know? And so, so good for you, man, that's a leap of faith, man. I remember my first deal wasn't as successful as yours. I bought a house that I flew out there and saw it and it was gone. It was torn down. So like, my first experience investing out of state wasn't really, I can laugh about it now. Back then I was just pissed off, but, of course. Right. But so let's get into, let's talk to the people now about this amazing app and this software that you have that can really help. So those of you that are wholesaling, flipping, investing, if you're looking to get properties in any way, really, really take note of this and pay attention, because this is, in my opinion, this is an app that is really going to be a huge game changer, especially the more that the market starts shifting, which it is already doing. So share it to people, Nate, about your software. First of all, I'm going to put the name up here so they can go and take a look at it, and the website while you're talking, but share it to everyone what it is. And you know, first of all, how you came up with it, and talk a little bit about what it can do for people.
Okay. Yeah. So back when I was, before I kind of did the real estate thing, you know, as my kind of journey to find ways to make passive income, I actually joined a software entrepreneurship class, and I have a software background, and so I tried a couple ideas, and they all tanked, and that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going back to what I know and what I really like, which is real estate. So when I was listening to all the podcasts, there was one theme that kept coming up from all these, you know, very successful investors, and they were, here are these multi-million-dollar investors, and they were searching the streets looking for properties with pen and paper, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm riding the train home, and the light bulb just went off, and I'm like, I started sketching stuff out in I carry an idea notebook, or I did at the time, and so I'm sketching out all these ideas, and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Maybe these two worlds are finally meeting. And so I thought, here's a perfect problem that I can solve. And so essentially, you know, all these investors were talking about driving for dollars. They're riding around, you know, with pen and paper, writing down addresses, you know, hiring a virtual assistant to go search county assessor websites, and or they're doing it themselves. And I was like, this is crazy. Like you were talking about with the technology, most of this data is there, and most of the capabilities are there. So we just took the, you know, driving the streets, you know, whatever you call it, driving for deals, you know, driving for dollars, and we created an app that basically automates this whole process. So not only does it track where you've been, It's funny, you look at some of the articles, 5 years ago about driving for dollars, and people are carrying their little, gas station map with their highlighter, and they're highlighting the streets that they're going down. And
Thomas guide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so we just wanted to automate that process, and so now you can, drive the streets. You touch a property, it drops a pin, it looks up owner information automatically, it loads it into a database that you can go access on the web, and from the web you'll be able to use our marketing suite of tools. The first one, which we just launched, was direct mail. We're currently working on a small fix, but basically you can send a postcard, a letter. It has the Google image right on there, and with a couple clicks, you could send thousands of mailers, manage everything right from the platform. And basically we're just going to keep ramping up our marketing tools into phone numbers and skip tracing and some other cool stuff that I can't quite release. But the basic idea is, hey, if you want a custom list that nobody else has, hit the streets, use our app, make those lists, and start marketing to those.
So walk me through, and this is huge, man. So walk me through, like, I'm somebody, I'm living in LA, of course. And so I'm in LA, and I say, it doesn't matter what state, but I'm in LA, and I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to download this app, and I'm going to drive around. So I download it. Walk me through kind of the process. And I'm going to stop at each kind of checkpoint, just so people can really get somebody that's listening that is just starting, or they're a novice, or they just want like a real clear step-by-step kind of baby walk. Share with me. So what would I do first? I download the app.
Yep. So once you download the app and create an account, we also have a big free version too. So you can do a lot with our free version. But essentially, the first step when you get ready to drive your streets, they call it your farm area. So you want to make sure you know what your farm area is. And what they mean by that is, go drive the areas that you feel have good opportunity. So you're not going to be driving in the high-end areas, and potentially you may not even drive in what I guess some people would call the war zones. But your typical C and B class area, and it depends on your marketing strategy or your investing strategy. So once you figure out your farm area, you download the app, you turn it on, and you start driving the streets. And what you're doing is, now you're looking for houses that fit a certain criteria. So for me, let's say I want to drive around Denver, right? I'd go to a neighborhood that I feel has good potential, and I'm looking for distressed properties because I want to find off-market properties that I feel are not being taken care of, because I want to do some value add stuff to it. So I would drive down each street and look for properties that show signs of distress, whether that's, the grass is overgrown, bushes are, covering everything, just a house that you can, visibly see is not well maintained. Then with the app, you can see where your position is relative to the house. So you would press and hold on that house for 3 seconds, and a little confirmation window will pop up. So then when you say, yep, that's the house, I can see it I can compare what it looks like with my eyes and on the image. You press on that, and that property gets loaded into your database, and the owner information gets loaded. And that owner information is really the valuable stuff, because we want to find out who owns this property so we can market to this person, whether they're living in the house or not. We want to be able to find out who owns the house so we can get in contact with them in some way.
Got it. So, okay, that makes sense. So you find a house, it's distressed, obviously, and you find it tells you who the owner is. What information does it give you about the owner? Does it just give you their, like, who's on title to the property, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we capture most of the county assessor information. So you'll get the property owner 1, owner 2. So if it's owned by a couple, you get the owner mailing address, and you get some high-level financial details. So most financial records, 30 years ago, weren't systematized, so there's not really a database for that. But like when I purchased my properties in Indiana, I went and checked those, and those get updated automatically, so I could see how much my mortgage balance was, what the purchase price was, and let's see, and then the year purchased. So it gives you some high level financial information, as well as like beds, baths, square footage, stuff like that.
So then we we contact them, be it through mailer, be it through using, which you said that you guys are adding a skip trace, which basically you can get, kind of like a Spokio or something like that, where you can like a reverse directory where you can find their email address, their phone number, right, that kind of thing.
Yep, that's exactly right. And then what we have in our system is a built-in mini CRM. So you could just manage all your stuff right there. So if you make contact, if you don't make contact, you can kind of make notes of those. But then essentially you send those marketing pieces out, whether you call them or send a mail piece. And then that gets the conversation going in terms of, making contact with a seller.
Oh, absolutely. And it keeps everything, and it has a built-in CRM, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm big on CRMs, so you can have everything in one spot. So then basically you get in touch with them. Obviously then you go into, having the conversation and all that. What else? So from that point, you get in contact with them. Is that where the point of the software is to find the deals and get in touch with the owners? Or is there other stuff that it does after that?
Sorry about that. So that is it for now. So you really want to get in contact with those sellers. We are going to be adding some additional functionality in which I can't quite release, but we're going to have some other kind of tools and reports that hopefully shed light on certain metrics and stuff like that. So our system eventually will be able to handle certain metrics. So how many letters have you sent out? How many people have you made contact? It really gives you a way to measure your results. But ultimately, you're building your custom list, you're researching that, and you're marketing to those people, and it's all kind of housed in this one software application.
And when you were saying it shows you like some financial information, it shows you like you find out like what the home is worth, but it shows you maybe how much they owe on it, that kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah, and that's that obviously comes from county assessor data, so that's not always accurate, but it should give you. We give you enough information to start, really, like, I'm a data guy, right? So it gives you enough data points to start going, okay, well, this was recently purchased, so most likely there's not going to be a lot of equity for the homeowner to, negotiate with me. But if, you can see that, somebody purchased a property 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, or you may have, it may give you enough insights to understand, okay, yeah, this is a good target for me. There's probably enough in the deal to where we can work something out.
And and I'll tell you, Nate, this software. So those of you that are if you're watching this, you can go to this website. Is this correct? That I have on the screen. Okay, so go to this website. And those of you listening to the podcast, I'm going to spell it out for you. It's www.drive, DRIVE, by BUYREI.io. So it's www.driveByREI, and by is BUI.io. So go to this, you can download the free version, take it for a test drive. And what I'll say to Nate is, I'm big, and I've been talking about this for months. I think that realtors, with technology, that obviously you and I know of some of it you're using to flip your homes, right, at certain platforms. I think that realtors are really about to get punished. I think, between the correction that realtors have never had is coming. I think when you have companies like Zillow and Open Door and I mean, these companies raising, $1 billion, $500 million, and they're buying their own properties, they're selling them for 1%. I seriously think that realtors, with the technology, it hasn't caught up to them yet, like the mortgage crisis, but I think that it's absolutely coming. So I'm an out of the box guy. And so I think that those of you that are realtors that are listening to this, you need to share this with other realtors, because I think anything that you can have listen, how are you going to compete with selling listing at 1% when you're charging 3%, right? And they do a professional job, and it's going to be seen by more people. And it gets to a point where people are literally starting to it's already happening now, you guys. So I think as a realtor, Nate, and I don't know, this is my kind of off the cuff brain. As a realtor, I believe this is a software that you absolutely need to have in your tool belt, because if you obviously have clients, and right now we're in a season that there's more buyers than properties, right? So if you're a realtor and you can use the software to actually have it not just list properties and go into the Keller Williams office or whoever you work with and take phone calls and go to open houses and do all the old stuff, yes, great. But add this into your repertoire as far as time is use this software. This is my opinion, Nate. I don't know if you've even thought about this, but if I was a realtor, I would be all over this to have something that I can go out and find properties for my investors that were wanting deals and had the money ready to deploy, but there's nothing on the market. The market's depleted. So what are you doing if you're a realtor? I mean, yeah, obviously as a wholesaler, this is a must-have. As an investor that's doing their own finding of properties, this is a must-have. But I think it's also something that realtors should have, because as this is getting squeezed out, they'll be able to take this and use this and go find properties for their clients. You and I didn't even talk about this, by the way. This is just completely off the cuff. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I think anytime you start to see deal flow slow down, right, you need to start getting creative. And like most kind of experts and gurus talk about, it's a numbers game. And so the best way to do that is to continually, be marketing yourself. And this is just one other way where, when the market starts shrinking up, that people need to start, thinking about that deal flow. And I think any ways that you can start having deal flow that no other person has, I think that's where you're going to start seeing a competitive advantage for them, because everyone's fighting over the same deals right now, and so getting the ones that nobody has, may actually help them even more, because then there's no battle, there's no competitive, bidding war, and you don't lose your shorts on it. So.
Absolutely. And Amy says, she's a realtor in Huntington Beach, says as a realtor, this software is a must-have. So those of you that are looking at and listening to this, listen, you have to stay ahead of the curve. And we've seen, everything from the past, right? Blockbuster got wiped out because they didn't evolve. Then you had what was it? The cab companies, right? With Lyft and Uber.
Yeah.
The realtor market, you guys, I want to make this real clear for you realtors listening to this, and please share this with other realtors. The mortgage market had a correction, right? People were charging points on the backside, not disclosing, and that got corrected, and now they're making a fraction of what they used to. But the real estate commission at 6% has not had a correction, you guys. And what's happening right now is with Redfin doing their own listings, with Zillow buying their own properties, doing their own listings. It's already starting, and it's already depleting. And with the market, with it being tough to get inventory, listen to me. If you're a realtor, if you don't want to be a Blockbuster, if you don't want to be a cab company, get ran over by Uber, you have to stay ahead of the curve. In my opinion, I'm not a realtor, I'm an investor and home flipper, as you know, Nate. But if I was a realtor, absolutely would take this, download it, and I would be using this. And I'm not just saying this because you're on here, Nate. Like, really, I would. This is like, I didn't even know some of the stuff that this did, but I would be using this to have my cash buyers, have my investors lined up, and I would be using this and driving out there and actually using this to have everything in one spot,
Yeah.
So, and because listen, if your real estate listings slow down, what else can you do as a realtor? Yeah, you can lease homes out, make a little extra side money. But what else can you do? If you can go get properties for your investors and your clients that aren't listed, that nobody else can get, guess what? Now you have massive value. Now you can charge a premium. It doesn't matter. You're not going to have to compete with the other people. So now, not only are you going to be able to get them investment property, say, for example, or even a property to live in, but if it is an investment for them, now you can get it and you can say, I got this property, but when you flip it, give it back to me so I can relist it. Now you're making money on both sides of that transaction, right? As a realtor. So for me, like if you're like, seriously, I mean, wholesaler, no brainer, download the software, use it. Now, this is in all the app stores. If they have an Android, iPhone, they can go into the app store and just download it, right?
Yep, that's correct. Yep, they can check it out. It's a two-pronged software approach. You've got the apps with your mobile device, so you can drive around. That's kind of your hunting tool. And then to manage, because again, I'm a data guy, we have a web portal where you can, it's really geared towards large data sets. So as you start to build those lists, you can go online and really dig in and manage that data set.
So with that said, man, great. I want to say, as a wrap up here, great job, man. You and I have become friends, and that's going to continue to grow. But I really want to say, man, it's really cool to see, to chat with you on here on the show and see someone and encourage people, right? Like, hey, you can do this, like kind of like that. Hey, if I can do it, you guys can do it. And here's a guy with 4 kids, 5 horses, no. But here's a guy with 4 kids, a wife, full-time job, finance manager, and is finding time to build his real estate side hustle, his flipping business, and software. So listen, if you think that you're too busy, you're right, you are. So you have to realize that if you want something, you got to make the time. You've got to pour into yourself. Nate gave some great tips going on bigger pockets. I think listening to podcasts, right, is something that is great. And really just you have to make the time. People say, oh, I have no time. Guess what? You're right. If you believe you have no time, you'll never have any time. So like you did, Nate, find the time when the baby's sleeping, being on podcasts, listening to stuff, growing. Obviously, you got a library, a freaking amazing library of books behind you that we can all see. So what's your favorite book up there? Hey, what's your favorite book?
Let's see, favorite book.
We'll end with this.
Yeah. I think the favorite real estate book or just any book?
Any book.
I'm not prepared for this.
Let's say real estate book.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna go with like a Sandra Boynton book or something, which is like a little cardboard book for kids, because I read those a lot. I think the most influential is probably Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then also I really like the Get Into Real Estate with Low or No Money Down. I think those books are fantastic. I think any books that you can educate or that kind of broaden your mind in terms of kind of mindset and outlook, whether you agree or disagree, are always good to read to get perspective.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So you guys go take this software for a drive. You can thank me later. www.drivebuy.io. Thank you, Nate, for being on the show, man, and giving everyone hope here that no matter what you're doing, no matter the corporate job you're working, no matter what you're doing and how many kids you have, you always have time for a real estate side hustle. So right. Thanks for encouraging everyone, man. And I'll give you a call here in a bit. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please share this on Facebook, share it on the podcast. And we thank you for joining us again for another episode. We'll see you on the next show. See you guys.
Thanks, CJ.
You bet, buddy.